No, I think that's absolutely disgusting and atrocious for a premier of Canada, of a province in Canada, to start threatening people with enormous fines and jail time for practicing their Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This is a peaceful assembly. They have no right to ask people to move along. We are fighting for our freedoms here. They had no problem shutting us down and locking us down for 2 years, taking kids out of school, forcing vaccines onto people against their will in order to save their jobs and kids to continue in the sports that they love. But they're afraid that people standing here with Canadian flags, practicing their Charter of Rights and Freedoms, that's what they're afraid of, that's what they're going to crack down on? No, I don't think so. They need to lift all these mandates and give Canadians their freedoms back.
Warning, censorship.
David Menzies for Rebel News here at the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor, Ontario. And folks, two breaking news developments to report on. First of all, the blockaders at the off-ramp to the bridge took a vote, evidently, and decided as a show of goodwill, they would indeed open one lane of traffic for the US to Canada bound traffic. This was all blocked off last night, but it's a free lane. Oddly enough, for whatever reason, I haven't seen a single car or truck come down this lane yet. Maybe the bridge staff are still working on the logistics on their end. But even more pressing, of course, just a half hour ago, Premier Doug Ford finished his news conference, and essentially he's laying down the law. It's no more Mr. Nice Guy. He has declared a state of emergency, and he has announced that these people that are having this blockade, if they don't move when told to by law enforcement, they face penalties of up to $100,000 plus a year in jail. Premier Ford was very adamant there will be severe consequences if they don't move. As the Premier said, $700 million worth of goods is being prevented from going either way on this bridge on a daily basis, and it can't be tolerated any longer. As I speak, the City of Windsor and some auto manufacturing associations are in Superior Court. They're seeking an injunction, so we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, I did speak to some of the people who have their vehicles here as part of the blockade, and I asked them, what do you think of that penalty? Does that mean you're going to go, or does that mean you're going to stay? And they said they're going to stay. Well, one fellow said there's nothing to go home to. Another said my freedom has already been taken away. What difference does it make if I'm here without freedom or in jail without freedom? That's the kind of anger, frustration, desperation that you see here at the Ambassador Bridge. In any event, I have one gentleman who is indeed a truck driver. Sorry, I think we bumped into each other on Tuesday night. First of all, what do you make of Premier Ford's announcement that if these vehicles don't leave when asked to, or individuals, $100,000 fine plus a year in jail is the maximum penalty?
Yeah, it sounds like he's putting the hammer down, and he's gonna try to move everybody. And my goal is to keep everybody level-headed, keep everything peaceful. And if we move on, it's just a battle, and the war is not over, and it's just a chess move. They're in.
Well, here's the big question. When push comes to shove, sir, speaking personally, if a police officer says you must now leave, does the threat of $100,000 and a 1-year jail term motivate you to leave?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. We'll fight another day.
Okay.
You can't fight behind bars. You can't fight with $100,000 fine hanging over you. And I have a lot to lose.
Yes.
I have lots to lose. So I'm like, okay, this is going to affect us. But I've been to Ottawa, and I'm going around and around, and it's just a battle. just the battle here, and we're not going to win them all, but we're going to do the best we can.
I wonder how many of the people assembled here, sir, take a contrarian viewpoint here. Is they're saying, no, I don't care. I'm here. I'm holding the line. They want to throw me in jail. If they want to fine me 6 figures, go for it. What do you think the breakdown will be in the number of demonstrators that will leave when threatened with that penalty?
I don't know. I don't know many people around here, so I don't know what the thought is. I've been around for 25 years trucking, and I just want to keep everybody cool and just try to keep peace around here. That's my goal. And there's no point in getting hot and heavy about thinking, oh, we're gonna win. No, there's some battles we're gonna win and some we're gonna lose, but this is a war. It's not gonna end today.
Yeah, it would seem unlikely to me that the various governments would cave into the demand of lifting all mandates. I just can't see them doing that. Another thing I want to talk to you about, sir, is that what about the double standard at play here? 2 years ago, we had rail blockades. They went on for weeks and weeks. They were costing the Canadian economy billions and billions of dollars, and yet there was no vilification or demonization by the government and the media of those protesters. There were, there was no sense of urgency to get them off the rail tracks. But this protest has been here for 5 days now, and it's like there's a different sense of urgency to open up the bridge. What do you make of that?
Well, this is international, so the government's going to be, they're under a lot more pressure. I've been following the news pretty hard the last few days, and they're under tremendous pressure to open this up from Michigan. I know the governor of Michigan has made all kinds of threats, and Ford, GM, Chrysler, Toyota, they're all hurting.
Yeah.
All the feeder plants are shutting down. Everybody's going home. They're under tremendous pressure. On the railroad blockades, I followed them a little bit, not as much, but there wasn't as much pressure to shut them down because they're like, well, let them protest for a while. But here, this is really, really hurting them. So this battle here has been very important, but I don't think we got enough support here in Windsor overall from the province, from the people. Ottawa feels like they're getting lots of support. I've been there a bunch of times, and they're getting a lot of support. But here in Windsor, the battle we didn't get the support that we needed here to keep it long term.
Gotcha. Okay, well, sir, thank you for weighing in, and stay dry, stay safe.
You're welcome.
All right,
Thank you for
then.
reporting.
Thank you. So I'm going to take a stroll over the so-called live lane because I don't see any live traffic coming going. And let's see if we can speak to some of the demonstrators who might be here for the long haul despite the penalties and despite the threat of losing their freedom. At least there is a McDonald's right at ground zero. It's kind of an odd statement that in the middle of this battleground there is a fast food restaurant that I'm sure is doing incredible business, unlike the 90% of Ottawa restaurants in downtown Ottawa, that decided to close down the last couple of weekends. That was a self-inflicted wound, folks, because the ones that were open had lineups out the door. Enjoy. Hey, how you doing, sir? Thank you. We are live right now, and sure, we're asking people. First of all, do you have a vehicle here?
I don't.
Okay.
I wasn't able to get in.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, nevertheless, you might have heard Doug Ford has declared a state of emergency. He is saying the maximum penalty if you do not get off this ramp to the bridge is $100,000, 1 year in jail. When push comes to shove, if law enforcement tells you to leave, are you leaving or are you holding the line?
It's going to be tough. We're talking about it, and I think we have to stand in unity as Canadians and kind of take what happens. I mean, we've heard a lot of scare tactics before. We hope that this is one of those. But I mean, there's millions of Canadians at this point that are done with this.
Yeah.
And we need to get back to the freedom that we once knew, and kind of nip this a little bit in the bud. So I think we're staying.
You know, it's interesting. I spoke to one person off camera, and he said he's here for the long haul because, as far as he's concerned, his freedom has already been lost. What difference does it make if he's staying in his car here or staying in a jail cell?
Yeah, and I think it's come that way for a lot of people. I know myself, I have children that aren't able to play in any organized sports. You know, everybody says it's a choice. You know, we hear from the media too that, look, you know, 90% of all Canadians are vaccinated. This isn't all about vaccination. Everybody wants to think it is. It's about freedom of choice and freedom of our autonomy. We have to get back to that. And yeah, it's something that I think we need to be passionate about. We need to stay here and see this through peacefully.
And in a way, do you think maybe this was a partial victory for these trucker convoys in that we've seen several provinces, including today, Premier Ford talking about you know, an end to the vax passport. So do you think these kind of protests we've seen spring up all over the country, the most significant one being in Ottawa, of course, move the dial in terms of opening up freedoms?
Well, I think it has. I think that's fairly obvious. They won't kind of fess up to it. I think things are moving a little bit faster. There's too many people. Every major city has people showing up with their families, with their children. We're all smiling, we're all eating, we're all sharing our food. If there was truckers here in a car jam, we'd be feeding them too. So I think that's where we're at.
And one last thing, sir, I noticed what's different than last night when we were here. A lane of traffic has been opened up to truckers coming from the US side to the Windsor side. Oddly enough, I haven't seen a single vehicle since I've been here moving. I don't know if the bridge staff is not prepared to open up yet, but what was behind that? Was this a political gesture?
That's what I've been hearing. I've talked to a bunch of gentlemen here that have been here since the beginning, and that's what I have heard. They moved the vehicles out of the way. Yes, we were kind of standing around here, but it was definitely for goodwill. We don't want heavy hands coming in here and forcing us out. I mean, we want to remain here and remain peaceful and get the word out.
Okay, well, we'll see if this is too little, too late in the opposing authorities, or if they appreciate this. Do you have any sense of, now that the penalties are in place, a state of emergency is now enacted? There are associations, as we speak in a court, getting an injunction. Do you have any sense, sir, of when law enforcement might move in and it's a matter of no more Mr. Nice Guy?
Well, this is my first day here. I felt that I had to get here today. I've talked to people who have been here all week, and the mood has changed a little bit here. There seems to be more police presence. We have made a concession, but we see lots lining up. Things feel a little different today. We're hopeful.
Okay, well, sir, thank you so much. And, try to stay dry. Thank you. Thank you. Well, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Dave, how's it going?
We do a little sauce on my face. You see,
Do it. Here, take a picture.
Absolutely, sir.
I gotta get
Same to me.
certainly the way you folks are organized by the mainstream media of the country, you know, that you're wearing violence on your, trouble on your shirt, so to speak. That's not the reality, is it?
No, man. The government says it cares about human life, and abortion is legal. It's great. You know what I mean? So abortion is legal. It's killing life, but
well, you know
what I mean?
What I found during the pandemic, sir, it used to be for decades on end. In terms of the feminist movement, they subscribe to my body, my choice.
Yeah.
And,
Where is it now?
Well, that's the thing. Or does it just apply to terminating the life of a baby? But that seems to have fallen out of fashion. But tell me, do you have a vehicle here, sir? Yourself?
I couldn't get it in. I tried for like 2 hours yesterday,
Okay.
and they wouldn't let me put it in here. I want to.
Regardless, if push comes to shove, now that we have a state of emergency, now that the penalty is a maximum of $100,000 plus a year in jail, if law enforcement tells you to move or else, what are you going to do?
That's all. We're gonna stay here. It's for freedom.
Okay.
As long as we
Look how
can.
many people died back in the day for freedom. $100,000 is a small price to pay. Even we're still alive, right?
I wish I had. Sir, if push comes to shove, are you going to leave or face the consequences?
They face some consequences, but I don't know where they think I'm getting $100,000.
What about a year in Islam, or if they go that far?
Well, we gotta do it. I'm doing this for my little girl. She's not gonna grow up in this tyranny country like this. We're not a communist country. Thank you, David.
Stay dry, guys. Take care.
All right. Oh, it's freezing. Oh.
Hey, how you doing, man?
David Menzies. David Menzies. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you so Well, as you know, in the last hour, Premier Ford dropped the anvil. He enacted state of emergency and said that if the people who are part of this blockade do not leave, they face a maximum penalty of $100,000 and a year in prison. What do you make about that? Will that make you leave should law enforcement descend?
No, the fact is that we've shut our lights down for 2 years and we will never have an honest debate with anybody. All we're asking for, just like in Ottawa, we've got the doctors ready to debate, we've got the science ready to debate. They won't debate the science, they won't debate the truth. Honest debates are what's going to get us out of this. And truth media like Rebel News is what's going to get us out of this. Because I work for a restaurant, my daughter-in-law's restaurant, who has been shut down for over 2 years now, 2 years. She's had to be a cop, she's had to be a health authority, she's had to do all the jobs of what the government's demanding of her, and yet open, close, she can't make money. They've had to lay off all their staff. You think we're going to be worried about this border being shut down and money being stopped now? The flow of money has been stopped in our economy for 2 years. Don't give us this.
You know what? You touch upon a very interesting point, and that is there are some who are critical of these blockades. They've used the term to describe you and the other people here as economic terrorists. And yet for 2 years, as you said, the government has shut down the economy. It is estimated that has cost the Canadian economy more than $1 trillion. And so I guess what I'm saying, man, when it comes to economic terrorism, who's the real terrorist?
Exactly right. And not only has it cost the people that can't work, what about what it's cost our tax dollars? What about the tax dollars they've been spending? You know, they shut down the GoFundMe. It's all the Canadian people trying to support a cause. There are so many people trying to support this cause, and yet, you know, I'm just going to throw it out there that with the We Foundation and our government, the biggest money launderers. You know, how can we stop this? Is by the media telling the truth. Only way this is going to stop, because all the rest of the people will finally wake up once they understand the truth. Hopefully.
Do you get a sense, ma'am, that there's something in the works? We've seen several police officers from other jurisdictions staying at the various hotels. It just seems that there is some kind of imminent action that's going to happen. Any predictions when they might come in and try to dismantle this blockade?
My only prediction is no matter what they do, we are fighting back. This is our one and only chance to settle this and get on the right track of truth and freedom. Period. That's why the whole world is following Canada. You know, they all call us the mild and meek people, the nicest people in the world, and yet they're all following us. We are setting an example. We are going to take the words that they meant for evil and we are going to turn them to good, because we are all in this together. Globally. You are not shutting us down. This is global health, against global globalists. We are against the globalists. And if people don't see that bigger picture, it's about a global takeover. We all know it. We all know what's going on. We are awake. It's just a matter of waking up more people, Doug. And thank you so much for what you do.
Well, thank you for your time, man.
I
Stay
really
dry.
appreciate Rebel News, and thank you to you. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're very
Take
welcome.
care.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Appreciate everything
Oh,
you do.
thank you, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Would you like to come on our live stream here?
I just got one question.
Yes, sir.
In the past 2 years, we've had billions of dollars spent on this vaccine. The best scientists in the world, they say, and we're still in the same spot we were before. Why not give the other side a try?
Right.
You know, we spent billions of dollars, and what are they afraid of still? If they're the best scientists in the world, we shouldn't be afraid, and we should open up and fight. I guess they're not the best scientists in the world.
Well, sir, you know, speaking of money, Doug Ford just an hour ago had a press conference, said that the toll on the economy is too great. He stated that $700 million worth of goods has been impacted on a daily basis from getting over the bridge. So he enacted the Emergency Act, and he said if the protesters here are not going to clear out when told to by law enforcement, they risk a $100,000 fine and up to a year in jail. Does that make you leave when push comes to shove, or you stay in?
I'm just a citizen walking the streets.
Yes.
I can't be thrown in jail for that, can I?
But
Is this
if-
Canada or not?
No, well, if the police ask you, you got to leave this area, this street, are you going to comply?
I'm just a citizen walking the streets.
Okay, then.
Why do I have to leave a street that I paid for?
Okay, then.
It's my street. And this is what brings us back to the vaccine and the best scientists in the world. Why do we have to do any of this if the best scientists in the world can't figure it out in 2 years? Why don't you give the other side a try? Why don't you give some ivermectin or hydrochloroquine a try? We're in the same spot we are 2 years ago.
I thought it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Oh no, that's
Maybe
government talk, 2 years.
Maybe there was a typo. They meant 2 years to flatten the
Yeah.
curve.
But what about these people that have lost their jobs?
I know.
What are these people that shut down their businesses? He's talking about closing down the economy. What about them? They closed it down for 2 years. Now all of a sudden we do it for 2 weeks and they're panicking.
And yet there are people who are critics of these blockades and these convoys who call you and the people here economic terrorists.
Until it hits home, it's hit home with us 2 years ago where people lost their jobs, shut down restaurants and everything. These people kept working. Now all of a sudden they're being affected a little bit for two. This is almost a war. You know, when you go to war, you get everybody gets affected. Now it's their turn to be affected. Let's see how they're already screaming out after 2 weeks. What about 2 years?
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate what you guys do.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. And
That's a history lesson right there.
pardon me, ma'am?
Sorry, but if you're not from Windsor, Ontario, this Ambassador Bridge, that's
Yes.
a history lesson right there. The bridge, there's not one truck on it in either direction.
Oh.
Okay? Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
I want to say one more thing.
yes,
I was all good about this until they started attacking the kids.
In terms of forcing to wear masks,
Forcing them to get the shots.
shutting
Do
down the
sports,
recreation
do
sports.
anything. You know, I'm fine with what they're doing, but when you start attacking kids and start killing our new generation.
Okay, thank you, sir. So as you see, folks, it doesn't seem that anyone is clearing out anytime soon. Of course, that might change if law enforcement comes in and lays down the law under the Emergency Act. And I don't know about you, I mean, a fine of $100,000 and a year in jail, that would be absolutely devastating to me. And I would argue most Canadians and most people here. So we'll have to see when that plays out. Like I said, the city and some auto manufacturing associations are in court as we speak, seeking an injunction. We'll see if they get it and what that means. And in the meantime, we will continue to monitor the situation. We're staying here for the next several days, and we will be here when law enforcement acts upon this group. I really think it's only a matter of time. Hopefully nobody will get hurt. Hopefully nothing very dire will occur. And we'll also monitor the bridge traffic, because even though there is a lane open, as I said earlier, I haven't seen a vehicle yet to come by. We're trying to find out what that's all about. So stay tuned to Rebel News. I believe I'll be on the live stream with Natasha and Andrew at some point. Oh, we are on right now. Oh, well, there you go. And guys, can you hear me okay? Okay.
They're watching. They're watching.
Oh, they're watching. Okay, then. So in any event, well, if we're on the live stream already, let's see if we can get some more people who would like to weigh in terms of will they stay or will they go?
Hey, you know what? We support you guys.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you, sir. We're on the live stream right now, guys. And
What's good? What's poppin'? We on from Windsor, Ontario. You know the vibe.
Now tell me, do you guys have vehicles here by any
Yes,
chance?
we do. Right over there. Been here for 4 days.
Wow. Okay. Well, sir, here's the deal. You know, Doug Ford has enacted the state of emergency, and he's saying the consequences here will be severe if you do not leave when asked to, namely $100,000 fine, up to a year in jail. What are you going to do should push come to shove?
Well, I don't even want to get started on that. Should I get started?
We listened to that broadcast, you know what, and I don't think our hearts have changed. We've been the same since day one.
Wow.
That was just a bunch of baloney. That's how we took it.
From them giving us fines, I mean, come on now. They've been giving us fines for 2 years now. Under crossing the border, receiving fines. I mean, fines are not going to cut it.
You know, that's an interesting point. Do you think this is so much posturing by the Premier? I mean, the key phrase is up to $100,000, up to a year in jail, but maybe the fines will be significantly less.
I'm 100% sure that they're not going to be $100,000 tickets. They're going to be like, at most, $3,000, $10,000 tickets. But even then, they can be fought in court. We know what we're doing. We're standing here for freedom. We're out there.
And another aspect to Premier Ford's clampdown was the idea of driver's licenses being revoked. For a lot of people, that means they can't do a livelihood anymore. Do you think the bark is worse than the bite here too? Or?
You know what, David? When it comes to something like that, I feel like if they were to do something about our licenses, even though all of us have our license paid, all the fees are paid, everything's reinstated, everything's legit. When they start doing things like that, I feel like they're taking the law into their own hands. So that's something we can't see. If they do that, it's over. That's the government going against its own regulations. It can't be going against the law like that.
Even so, do you guys get the sense that the clock is ticking? The state of emergency has been declared. The city of Ottawa and some auto manufacturing associations are right now in a court getting an injunction.
You know what?
Okay.
You know what? I feel like you should be asking that question to our actual government, the people making these rules, the people setting these laws in motion for us to get tickets, for us to be blocked, for us to be removed. They should be answering to that question, not us.
But what I'm saying is, sir, is that do you feel that it's imminent that law enforcement will descend upon this blockade and shut it down?
Well, I don't think, sure, they come on down to us, but I'm 100% sure it's not going to get shut down. We won't be until the mandates are lifted. We want our freedom back, and that's why we're here. We want to be heard. This isn't a chaotic protest. This is a civil protest, and we want to be heard. This is our message.
The other angle, sir, is that we go back 2 years ago. There were protesters doing blockades on rail lines across Canada. And I didn't see vilification and demonization of these people by the government and the mainstream media. I didn't see a sense of urgency to get them off the tracks, even though it was costing the Canadian economy billions of dollars. Why the double standard?
Well, the double standard, I'm not too sure on that.
I don't believe it's a double standard. That's a totally different situation.
Oh, okay.
That situation, I feel like more people were aware of that. Like people that were aware of that situation mostly was people in that industry. What we're doing, this is like nationwide, Canada-wide. This is for everyone in Canada. You know what I mean? It applies to every age group, everybody.
Well, it's actually an international story because
there you
of
go,
course,
even better.
The governor of Michigan has weighed in. She wants this shut down. The White House, President Biden says this has to end.
We don't support President Biden.
Sleepy Joe.
We're more Trump. We're on Trump's side.
That guy's completely lost. He can't even hold a
He
conversation.
can't even walk out of his own airplane. It's crazy.
I think sometimes he gets lost.
We want Donald Trump to make America great again.
Trump 2024. It's coming. It's happening. It's game over.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll take one issue at a time, and we'll just keep an eye on what's going to happen in terms of law enforcement. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay dry, guys.
Great. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for being
Thank you
here.
very much. Take care.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
How you doing? I'm Rick. I'm a good Canadian. And you're Rebel News.
Yes.
I'm shaking everybody's hand. Thank you for being here. I read your rag all the time.
Well, since they're making up all these mandates and that, they might as well mandate freedom, please.
You know, what do you think, ma'am? Just an hour ago, Premier Ford had a press conference. He's announced the consequences of the protesters not moving out when asked to by law enforcement, and we don't know when that's going to occur, are going to be severe, namely a $100,000 fine maximum. And when it comes to freedom, losing your freedom for a year if you don't move on. When push comes to shove, are you going to hold the line, or are you going to go home like the Premier wants you to?
Well, eventually I have to go home because I have children in school that are going to come out. But no, I think that's absolutely disgusting and atrocious for a premier of Canada, of a province in Canada, to start threatening people with enormous fines and jail time for practicing their Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This is a peaceful assembly. They have no right to ask people to move along. We are fighting for our freedoms here. They had no problem shutting us down and locking us down for 2 years, taking kids out of school, forcing vaccines onto people against their will in order to save their jobs and kids to continue in the sports that they love. But they're afraid that people standing here with Canadian flags, practicing their Charter of Rights and Freedoms, that's what they're afraid of, that's what they're going to crack down on? No, I don't think so. They need to lift all these mandates and give Canadians their freedoms back.
And then some people argue that when it comes to this issue, Premier Ford is a bit of a hypocrite. He's always said we're all in this together, yet as businesses went bankrupt the last 2 years, as so many people lost their jobs, his own business, Deco Labels, I understand business has never been better. I guess somebody's got to print all those sticky arrows so we, do proper aisleway etiquette in the supermarket. So he seems to be doing okay. So what's your take on that?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. If the mandates are ended, then we don't need all those things anymore, and then he stops making money. And when they say we're all in this together, what they mean is all the politicians are in on this together.
Yeah, I didn't check the fine print. All right, well, thank you so much,
Thank
Beth.
you, David.
Okay, then.
Pleasure to see you.
Well, thank you so
Yes,
much. You
thank
take
you for
care.
all you do.
Thank you. It's okay. Hey guys, how you doing? Okay, then. Well, you look like you're dressed for the long haul, sir. Nice and warm and snug. What do you make of the Premier announcing just an hour ago, if you don't clear out when told to by law enforcement, it means up to a $100,000 fine and up to a year in jail. Does that make you leave, or are you still staying?
I plan on staying.
Okay, then.
That's just speaking for me personally. I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone else but myself, but I plan on staying.
You know, that's a good point. What do you think the percentage of people here that will indeed stay and not because $100,000 a year in jail, those are the maximum penalties. That would be devastating to me. I think it'd be devastating to most Canadians. How do you see it playing out when law enforcement descends?
Well, it'd be devastating for me too, but what's going to be devastating in the long run, basically, are these mandates and the government control that they're after. And quite frankly, I'm willing to take that chance. Like I'm a Canadian, and I believe that I have my rights, and I'm willing to stand for them. So.
You know, I spoke to somebody off camera when we first got here. He didn't want to come on, but he said he's staying, and as far as he's concerned, his freedoms are clipped so much that what difference does it make if he's here at the Ambassador Bridge sleeping in his car or sleeping in a jail cell. He's lost his freedom. I found that really profound, very sad in a way. Do you think that might be the mood of many people here at this blockade, sir?
Like I said, I can only speak for myself, but for me, it's something definitely worth fighting for, and I feel that we've been walked on. You know what I mean? And aside from yourself, I haven't seen any media on our side of the river that's really showing what's going on. So I don't know. I have 2 children. I have a wife. I'm a business owner, and I'm willing to stay. I'm not, you know, I don't want to get arrested. I don't want things to get violent. I don't want it. I just want to be able to practice my rights as a Canadian.
Well, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, still looking at the lane way for good reason. I don't want to get run over just in case some traffic from the U.S. does come over. We've heard what we heard on Tuesday night from a bridge employee that didn't want to come on camera. He was saying at one point the traffic on the Michigan side was backed up more than 20 miles. I don't know if that's not the case anymore, or because there are alternative crossings, of course, into the U.S. The closest here would be the Blue Water Bridge in Sarnia, which is very, very busy right now too. So in any event, don't see any traffic coming yet. And oddly enough too, I see the, I don't know if this is a malfunction, the gates for the rail crossing, it's a level crossing, they're down, the red lights are on, but it's been that way for several minutes, but no train is coming, so I don't know what the situation is there. Hi, sir. How you doing?
I have some breaking news for you.
Oh, okay.
So as you know, the injunction thing is being passed at City Hall.
Okay.
And so that either means that the people that are blocking at Wyandotte and Sunset are either going to be an illegal or legal blockade there, right? And so if it's illegal, then the police will ask people to disperse and take away the tent and the 3 cars. So it's our weak point. And we need people to come down there that are peaceful, very peaceful people, and either like witness it or walk away when asked to, or stand their ground and be escorted to jail peacefully, very peacefully.
We were there last night at the Wyandotte Street entrance to the bridge. I estimate there were about 10 vehicles, maybe about 20, 25 people. And just for people who are not familiar with the Windsor area or the Ambassador Bridge, this is a alternative route onto the bridge. It certainly can't handle the capacity the main ramps do, but the injunction you speak of, did that apply just to the Wyandotte Street group or all the groups here?
I've been told that it's just the Wyandotte. This place is secure. That's our weak point, and we want witnesses and people recording stuff and people to stand up and hopefully if the injunction, I don't know if it passes or doesn't pass, or I hope it's a legal, just peaceful, blockade there. And but if people end up choosing to go to jail, then that's their choice. There hasn't been a vote or anything because it's everybody's own choice.
And that is the choice so many people are going to have to make in the hours or days ahead. I'm not sure when law enforcement will descend. About an hour ago, Premier Ford declared a state of emergency. He said the consequences will be dire, namely up to $100,000 in fines, a year in prison. If push comes to shove, sir, and law enforcement tells you to go home or else face these consequences, what are you going to do?
I don't know yet. I might stand my ground. I might run away to fight another day.
Okay, then. Well, I guess we'll see what happens.
It's Doug Ford and Dilkins are escalating this when they, should actually engage us with conversation rather than be dictators telling us what to do instead of having a conversation about things. And, Ford talked about the children. Well, think of the children. They're there. So, do they want to see their parents be treated poorly by their government, their corrupt government that are pushing all this nonsense on us?
Yeah, he also implored the demonstrators who have children here to take them home. I mean, certainly there's some people that say children shouldn't be used as political pawns, if you will. How do you feel about that, sir?
It's horrible.
So, well, I don't see too many children here today. Of course, this is a school day, so maybe they're there. Also, what's different from last night, sir? I guess there was a vote, I understand, to open up one of the lanes on this ramp for U.S. to Canada bound traffic. I haven't seen any vehicles yet, but was that
I'm not a trucker, but I was here about 8:30. The truckers all assembled, and to my knowledge, they agreed that they would open this lane as a goodwill. I can't speak for them, but I overheard that it's a goodwill gesture. And in my opinion, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. But at least, to be fair, the cops haven't put their boots on our neck or anything. They've been very good. We love our police here so far. And so, I mean,
And yet, sir, do you get the sense something is in the air in terms of a crackdown? I see many police cruisers and vans from other policing jurisdictions, such as Waterloo. And it just seems to me that something is in the air. Like I said, Premier Ford stated $700 million worth of goods is not coming across the bridge on a daily basis. And the impact on the economy has been egregious. So do you think any hour now, any day now, law enforcement are indeed going to move in?
Well, I mean, it's trivial compared to what the lockdown and all the ramifications of, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, too much, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So.
Oh, no, listen, I mean, some people estimate that the 2-year lockdown or partial lockdown of the Canadian economy has cost the nation $1 trillion. And I could see that being a reality. So.
They just print money anyways,
Yes.
Like they did it right at the beginning of the so-called COVID pandemic. They printed a lot of money and they gave it to all their corporate friends.
And sir, what is the mood now that Doug Ford stated what he stated? Are people here depressed? Are they feeling that something ominous is going to happen now that the Premier very forcefully stated what the consequences are? What vibe are you getting here?
Energized.
Oh, energized. Let's go over to this fellow.
Yep.
So, sir, far from...
First of all, I want to thank Rebel News for all the coverage.
Oh, well, thank you,
guys
sir.
have been great. Thank you for your service to our country.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. But what's it going to be for you, sir, when push comes to shove? If law enforcement says you got to leave, are you prepared to stay and face those severe consequences? $100,000 fine, up to a year in jail?
I'm prepared to move over to the sidewalk.
I wonder if that's good enough. Maybe you have to go to McDonald's.
I think we have to end all the mandates.
Yeah.
Like the gentleman before said, the cost, this is nothing compared to the cost of this we've been for Canada for the last 2 years and in the future.
We need to keep this lane clear if people use.
Oh, okay.
I appreciate what you do.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Please, let's keep this lane clear.
Sorry about that.
Hey, David.
Oh, okay.
David, we're legal.
Yes. Hey, how are you, sir?
I'm a supporter of yours.
Oh, thank you. Can we just move a little over because we've been asked to. And, you raise a good point. Why is it with this particular protest, since the trucker convoy began, the demonization, the vilification of people like you and everybody else here, the idea that you're racist, you're bigots, you're haters, was ramped up by government, by the mainstream media? Why this need to demonize the people here?
Well, I think that's a modus operandi. Okay, of the left. You got to demonize the enemies, okay? And this is exactly what happened. I come from Germany, okay?
Okay.
during the 30s, okay? They had to demonize a certain class, and that took 8 years before they started putting people away, okay? Very slowly, it happened, bit by bit, okay? And then we know how this situation ended, okay? We cannot have an apartheid country, okay? These people, I don't see any insurrectionists. They only want one thing, okay? Yesterday I was here, the kids were playing hockey with families, okay? I'm a law-abiding citizen. I used to be a manager for Fortune 500 company, engineering manager, okay? At one time I had 200 people working for me, okay? I'm a law-abiding citizen, okay? I just want one thing, lift the mandates, okay?
And since you are a law-abiding citizen, sir, if push comes to shove, if law enforcement comes in and says you have to go home or else you face those dire consequences Premier Ford announced today, do you stand your ground or you go home?
No, you see, I think people need to then just move aside, okay?
Okay.
And we can do exactly like they did in Germany, okay? Like they brought the government down very peacefully. Every Wednesday night, okay? Every Wednesday night, hundreds of thousands of people went into the streets by candlelight, okay? It took a while, but we know what the end effect was. The wall came down, right?
Okay, then.
The wall came down, and if this fails, that's what we're going to have to do, okay?
And yet we don't seem to have that kind of critical mass for this demonstration. This blockade is far smaller than Ottawa, although the economic damage is far more severe.
This stinks, okay? This stinks.
Oh yes. And so I guess I don't know where I'm going with this. Is part of the reason to dismantle this, is it all about the money? Premier Ford said $700 million is not going back and forth over this bridge on a daily basis. It's hurting the Ontario and Canadian economies, and it just can't be tolerated anymore. There are others who are critical of this protest. They call you and the other people here economic terrorists. How do you respond to that?
We're not economic terrorists, okay? We want the mandates to be simple. Just one sentence, we lift the mandates, okay? And all this will be done. Okay, one message I have for Mr. Doug Ford, okay? Look at all these people. Look around. Each one of these people has a family. Probably some have 30 members in the family, okay? If you put these people in jail, what is going to be your re-election? Okay, this is not going to happen. You're toast, okay? Okay? You're toast, okay?
I wonder if the alternatives behind doors number 2 and 3 are any better.
I don't know, okay? But these people want nothing more than just to be left alone. We all know the vaccines are not what they were advertised, okay? Lockdowns do more harm than good. And number 3, an apartheid system just creates hate. We don't need that in this country.
Sir, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And keep up the good job, okay?
Appreciate that, sir. Thank you. Oh, what was that?
This is against tyranny going on. And I'm going to go on as a citizen.
good girl, you. Be a good girl.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah. All right.
There's a guy right now on TikTok saying that he's scared of your line raid on 1994 East.
Take care, man.
Sure, yeah.
All right, then. So as the day proceeds, it's not exceptionally cold, folks. It's miserable. It's like rain bordering on freezing rain. And we do see a ramped up police presence. We did notice more street closures by the police today, which suggests they're ramping up for something. Speaking of ramps, still haven't seen any traffic come from the American side. Don't know what the situation is there. But we'll talk to some of the other protesters. By the way, folks, on the other side of this traffic divider, that is it's a very small blockade, but it's effective. That's preventing Canadian vehicles or Canadian traffic bound for the U.S. And they've been here since Wednesday night. And so hey there, sir.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you, sir. Also noticed too some campers, which suggests certain people are here for the long haul. And you know, this is a very interesting piece of signage. It's something you never get from mainstream media. If these wheels don't turn, you don't eat. And it goes back to what Tucker Carlson said about a week ago. And it's this: if you are alive, you owe your life to a trucker. It is a trucker that brought the groceries to the supermarket. It is a trucker that brought the medicine to the pharmacies. And yet, if you believe the government and mainstream media narrative, that is despicable. Because I echo what Mr. Carlson had to say. If you're alive, thank a trucker. A phenomenon we're seeing in Canada, isn't it? All these trucker blockades in the quest for freedom. The latest one being right here in Windsor, Ontario, near the Ambassador Bridge. Well, folks, if you want to get the other side of the story, please help us fund our missions to all the cities in Canada where these protests are taking place. If you're able to, please go to convoyreports.com. That's convoyreports.com, and kindly make a donation so that we can pay our expenses. Thank you.